Okay, so I'm here with Katie Enright. She's the
Hello.
filmmaker behind Dog Park.
Yes.
Congratulations,
Hello.
well done.
Thank you.
Really well done.
Thank you.
Now, I know we've spoken before. If again, just give a brief synopsis, and I'm not going to dwell too much on this because I know you've got other things that you may be doing at the moment, and just give us an idea of what you're up to, if you can.
Yeah, sure. So Dog Park is a romantic comedy. It's 6 minutes. It's about two people that meet at a dog park, but neither of them have dogs. So the girl goes there specifically trying to meet a guy, and the guy's dog sitting for the weekend.
He's not there for an encounter as such. He just happens to be. Yeah. Okay.
It's a Saturday morning. He happens to be watching a dog.
Taglines are brilliant. All dogs must be on leash. Pigs and that would make me laugh. That one. Now, are these real? These aren't real.
No, my favorite is there is no poop fairy. Please clean up after
Well,
your dog.
now the reason I'm saying I might sound a bit like I'm being a bit dim, I can actually imagine that being there because you've got to clean up the dogs, haven't you? So I did wonder if you. Anyway, should we just move on because it clearly.
Well, it's funny because I did try to do a lot of research about park rules, and so part of them, it's about 50-50, where some dog parks are very, strident in their rules, and other dog park rules are very funny. So I tried to kind of pull and adapt. We obviously have a pig in our movie, so there's the pig, and other farm animals are allowed.
Is that? I know. Was that just done for the screen? Can you genuinely take a pig into it?
No,
I don't know.
You know what's funny?
I just don't know. I don't know. Secret people have farm animals. Who knows?
Yeah. There's a goat at the dog park. You're like, wait, what is happening right now?
But who knows? I don't know.
Exactly. So my producer posted on Facebook, hey, we're looking for anybody for extras. If you have a dog and you're free, we would love it if you come down. And somebody responded and said, I don't have a dog, but I have a pig. And I said, that's so nice of you, but I don't want to be responsible if anything happens to your pig. I don't, and then I thought about it a little bit more, and I was like, no, we're just going to get a pig wrangler, and we're going to have welcome the pig. And
it just doesn't sound right.
The pig wrangler literally was carrying the pig around. I mean, the pig was the biggest hit on set.
Yeah, we should point out it's not a huge. It's like a.
It's a pot-belly pig,
babe,
so it's
babe-sized sort of pig, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. But it got so much attention, and at the dog park too, all the dogs were surprisingly mellow. They came around and they would sniff the pig and
yeah.
were real chill with it, which was crazy. I would think somebody would try to attack the pig, knowing how delicious bacon is. It was very hard to restrain from making bacon comments the whole time.
Any brown sauce or red sauce? Where does that name come from? Because obviously this is your company, but what's the idea behind the tagline? Who came up with that?
It is. So the lead actress, Gilly, and myself make up for the two girls, and then Jimmy Gadd is the guy in the production company. So we've worked together on the Drunk Lonely Wives Book Club, which is a web series that I executive produced and acted in.
Yeah.
And Gilly wrote about a year before Dog Park. And then we kind of needed a production company name. And so we were just like, how about two girls and a guy? And so it's just kind of worked out.
And tell me with Gilly or Gilly, isn't it? Yeah, you said Gilly.
Yes.
So this is an ongoing, and obviously Jimmy, but this is an ongoing, so I guess what I'm saying really badly is projects after this that you're now working on. Is this the web series you were talking about?
Well, we've done the web series we completed about 2 years ago, but we just started submitting it to festivals. So that's kind of fun because we just were at the downtown Los Angeles Film Festival about 2 weeks ago, and then we have another film festival coming up next week for the Drunk Lonely Wives Book Club. So that
Drunk Lonely Wives Book Club.
Yeah, there's lots of drunk lonely wives. As the title says. But it's great. I met Gilly about 8 years ago in an acting class. Mary Lou Bella is an Emmy Award-winning director, and she teaches acting. She teaches classes when she's not directing, and she's amazing. And Gilly and I both studied with her for a very long period of time, and kind of a friendship developed out of that. And then, as anybody in the industry can attest to the fact that it's very competitive, and you have to create your own work. So one day I went to her, and she's a writer and a creator, but she doesn't really like production, and I'm not a writer-creator, but I really love production. So we kind of fill each other's voids. And I said, hey, do you want to write something and I'll produce it? And she was like, yeah. And then we had two other friends that we'd studied with for a really long period of time, and we asked them if they wanted to come on board and be producers as well and act in it as well. And so we had this Drunk Lonely Wives Book Club. And then Jimmy, I actually met through the Warner Brothers directing program. I was an actress in it. And he was taking the program, and that's how we met Jimmy. And then we all kind of kept in touch, and it's all worked out, and it's been a great relationship, friendship, and working partnership for about 2.5 years now.
Yeah, and you just said something that's quite interesting actually about how competitive it is. I remember back in London, I was talking to a filmmaker, but his background was actually dance, and he runs a dance studio, and he interviewed, screen tests lots of dancers for different roles, and he said the problem is that, say 10 or 15 years ago, there was quite a few dancers who were really brilliant. He said now they all turn up and they're all brilliant.
Yeah.
And I said, but how on earth do you choose? So I suppose the question is, now I'm guessing you see so many people with brilliant resumes and brilliant acting experience and are brilliant when you, how on earth, I mean, I know it's possible they have a something, whatever it is, but how do you define it? How do you strip it so that person, because it must be uber hard to do this. You know, how on earth do you go through that? And is it a painful process?
Of casting as a director to cast yourself? Well, what's funny is
Blaze, I know you it was, I suppose, more Blaze than Gilly, because you
well, Blaze is my neighbor, which is hilarious. But so part of being an actor in LA is you have survival jobs, and a survival job that I had was I would run commercials. So I would be a session runner for a commercial casting company. And Blaze was as well.
You've got to have another job. It's a fact, really. You've got to.
Yeah, you kind of do. Unless you're at the top 1%. You really, and even then, you almost want to always have something on the side, just because it's so
fickle,
unstable that
fickle.
exactly, that you can make $250,000 one year and $30,000 the next year. And so you really need to have something that you're not starving, unless you like to be a starving artist, which I'm not a big fan of. But so I moved, and about 4 months after I moved, I realized that Blaze lived about 4 houses down from me, and I knew I was going to do Dog Park, and I kind of thought that he would be perfect for it. And so I asked him if he would do a reading with Gilly and I, just so I could hear it and like work on the material. And
because there's got to be a connection. I know we've talked about this before. There has to be the electricity. There has to be there, doesn't it?
Yeah. As soon as he sat down and he said the first line, I was like, "Yep, this is
the guy."
Yeah. And then I was like, and then you just have to ask them if they'll do it, if they'll be in it, if it's, you know. And he said yes, and it was great.
But what about the more traditional, when you haven't got that and you then have to go through dozens and dozens of people? And I know that's part of the process, but do you find that rewarding? Was it quite, be honest, is it a hard thing to do?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm a big proponent of hiring a casting director. It's an added expense, and sometimes you don't have the money to do it, but that's their job and that's what they're paid to do. And by hiring a casting director, you're able to sometimes get higher caliber talent, because somebody that maybe wouldn't consider your project before knows that this casting director is casting it. It's a serious project. And that's another way that you can go about it. We're really lucky, because for this project and for the Drunk Lonely Wives Book Club,
I don't even want to see it because the title is so good. If I never see this, I'm just going to remember that.
Good. Well, you should see it, but okay. Yes, you will remember it as well.
Drunk Lonely Wives Book Club, okay. Yeah. It's not like the Jane Austen book club, which I saw recently, isn't it?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not, but it could be. I mean, it's book clubs are.
But it's a comedy
clubs.
as well, isn't
it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's a comedy series that takes place in the 1960s. It's about 4 women. It's really fun. It's really funny. But we only had one guest star, and the director knew her because she was kind of a name talent. So the director knew her, and then the director was actually able to ask her to be in it. So then she did, because she knew the director. But I think hiring a casting director is a great thing to do. Mm. It's worth the money.
And what about being the other side rather than this side of the camera? Which is the most, I've asked you before, what's more enjoyable?
They're both enjoyable in different ways. It's really funny though, because like I said, 2 weeks ago we had a screening for the Drunk Lonely Wives Book Club, and I was an actor in it. And I wasn't nervous at all. I was very calm, collected. It was great. It was really fun. Every time I screen Dog Park, I feel like I'm going to pass out before it
because
plays.
You're the one. It's your baby, isn't it?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if there's anything wrong, they're not going to the actor, are they?
No.
They're going to that person. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And you could always say to your friends that are actors, "Oh, you were great in it. The movie was shit, but you were great." Whereas when you directed it, everything is yours. Everything, you know what I mean? If there's any part of it that doesn't go well, it's your fault.
And how do you I don't know if you've been in a film that's terrible, and if you have, how do you deal with that? Because, or maybe I'm asking the wrong person, maybe you haven't experienced that, but have you experienced that?
I mean, I haven't experienced a film that's been so horrifically bad that there wasn't any part of it that was a learning experience or a saving grace. But there are definite, I think budget-wise, there's been a few things that I've been in that haven't been, there's no sound mix, there's no color correction, it doesn't...
Oh, it doesn't, yeah, okay.
It doesn't look and sound as good as it potentially could if there was the budget that could sustain that. But you don't tell people. You know what I mean?
I'm not asking you to name names, but...
You just don't, you take it for what it was and you move on. Luckily, that really hasn't happened.
Those two things you picked up are really important, though, the colour correction and the sound.
Yes.
That's been said to me so many times. And let's say the sound, although people know how important it is, but colour correction is something a lot of people will not know about. And it's probably best if you... Because to be honest, I only found out about it when I started working the festivals, and I never really thought about it. But because most people assume it's film shot, and that's the colours you have, but it's not that at all. But perhaps you can explain exactly what that's all about and why it's so important.
Well, it's post-production, and the thing is when people budget out, if people have $1,000 to make a short film, which is nothing essentially, almost everyone's working for free, and that's a bare minimum. We'll say $10,000. The problem is that people don't allocate enough money for post-production. So a lot of times your color mix, your sound mix, and your color correction, you don't have money for it, and unless you can do it yourself, which I can't, unfortunately. I'm not technically developed enough to do it, or have the know-how rather. You take it to a post-production house, or you have a friend who knows how to do it, or however you're going to get it done. But those are the little finishing things that make a film stand out.
Yeah.
It's the little things, like somebody opening the door and you hear the creak of the door, but you hear it, really loud, and then you hear someone's voice and their voice is too quiet for the sound of the door, and you need somebody to check the levels and make sure everything's perfect, and it just makes an audience member believe the world of the film that much more.
Yeah, I suppose world building, I guess, or whatever you called it. It's quite interesting because a lot of filmmakers I've spoken to, an awful lot in fact, that have made a low budget film, they said, I wish I had spent more on sound. Or what do you mean? Oh, well, I've done it myself, and actually I should have hired someone. It cost me a great deal, but boy, that was a cock up.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's a similar thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the type of thing where you have to allocate that money. And I think that's a rookie mistake that a lot of people make is not putting money in post-production. They might rent cameras that are really nice cameras and lenses and stuff like that. People understand and people see, oh, well, we need that. But they don't realize that you need post-production as much as you need cameras and everything, and locations and wardrobe and hair and makeup. All of it is important. But post-production's kind of gets people just run out of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was another filmmaker who I spoke to was in London, and he said, imagine this. So he had his script writer, and he said, I've written on the page, it's raining. Great, 2 words, took me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Now go and film that.
Yeah,
and
that's $30,000. Yeah.
He said, exactly. You've got to find a location.
Yeah.
It might not be rain. You might need a machine to produce the rain. Then you need the sound guy, the cameraman, the actors. And he said, suddenly those 2 words, and when you sort of strip it back, you're like, I get it. It's horrifically difficult to make a film and very expensive. $10,000 sounds quite a lot of money to me. But I know in the great scheme of things...
In the great scheme of things, it's nothing. That is spent in a day's time. And that's
what on earth are you doing
really
in this industry? No, but genuinely, because, I know it's a very expensive thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I did a spec commercial about a month ago, and I was so fortunate in that I had the DP brought the camera equipment for free, and I had a drone for free, and the editor worked for free, and I had the actors work for free. So many people were so generous with their time, and it still cost me about $1,500. And that's for most people doing it for free.
Yeah, like mates rates kind of thing.
Exactly, and it's just very, very, very expensive to do things the right way. because like I said, I color corrected it, I sound mixed it.
Yeah.
I wanted it to look as professional as possible, because part of it is too is what's the difference between $1,000 and $2,000. I mean, I guess it's double. It's a significant difference.
But
if
it's
it's
the
going
end
to
result.
make the end result, and if it's going to make the product so much better, it's worth investing. It's an investment, and that's kind of at these film festivals. What we're doing is we're investing in ourselves. We're working on our skills. We're investing in ourselves, and then hopefully at some point in time, people will start paying us to make films.
So did you ever sit at home and think, what the F am I doing in this?
Yes.
Because we all have moments of trepidation and despair, don't we?
Yeah, totally. But then I watch a really great movie and I think I know exactly what I'm doing in this industry.
But the right career choice?
Yeah, I so far.
I just worry, the competitiveness. I mean, it is brutal. I mean, I know it's not even part of it, but I know it's because of, obviously, people talk to me about this all the time. And you've got to be driven, I know that, and you've got to be super driven, in fact.
Yeah.
But how much of it is still luck, being in the right place and having the right connections?
100%. And a lot of it is your look, how you physically look, which is something you can't control. Ish.
Yeah. When I see, without naming names, when I see sometimes actors and actresses that I've known since, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, and then you've seen the rigours they've gone through surgery and stuff, and part of me is going, oh, why have you done it? It's dreadful.
Yeah.
But then part of me realises now more than ever, they're doing it for a reason. The reason is that you've got to try and stay on top of the game, haven't you?
Yeah, totally. But it also, it's a weird industry, because it's like, if you want to be a lawyer, you go to law school, you pass the bar, you get a job somewhere, being a junior.
Yeah, then you slowly.
And then you slowly start working your way up, and there's a rhyme and a rhythm for success. There's a path to succeed, and with filmmaking, with acting, with anything really in the arts, there's no path to having success. And some of the most talented actors I've ever seen in my life are doing, community theater in Chicago, and will always have a day job and will never make more than $10,000 a year doing what they do, but they're brilliant. And it's disheartening to see that, because
they're amazing.
Yes, and there's so many people that make it that aren't amazing when you see the final product.
Yeah, some of the dredge that I watch, I mean, how on earth is this big guy becoming, I don't want to name names, but some big Hollywood blockbusters, they're not necessarily A-listers, but you're like, holy shit, how did they ever become an actor? Because they're crap.
Yeah.
And you're right, I mean, someone like Meryl Streep, I think she was at Yale, I don't know, she was an Ivy League, and she's a brilliant actress. And that's her path, but, someone like, I don't know, De Niro, De Niro or Pacino, I don't think they went to university, I don't know, but it just shows you their talent shone through, and they haven't been perhaps in the right place at the right time, I don't know. But there is, like you say, doesn't seem to be any, just the same way as there is no formula for writing a perfect film, because there's films that are made, they spend shitloads of money, and they bomb, don't they?
Yeah.
And there's films that are made with a tiny budget, that are massive, like, I don't know, Four Weddings and a Funeral, a pretty low budget film, but it went on to make gazillions of pounds.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, it's really interesting, because you're right, there is no rhyme or reason of the success of a film too. And kind of a movie that everyone has been talking about in this film festival is The Blair Witch Project, and how it was
unbelievable.
Yeah, and how
scared the shit out of me as well. No, it really did. When I first saw it, it literally terrified me. Horror films don't bother me. I can watch them, all the ones I saw as a kid that really used to affect me now, it doesn't bother me. But that did, and the thing is, it was things that you don't act, because you never really see anything. So when you're like Alien, you just don't see it, but it plays your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant film, and also it happened to be right at the very beginning of like the internet. I was in 97, 98, and I guess they'd done a little bit of whatever social media there. But I think I'm right in saying, for the amount of money it's cost, it's been the biggest grossing film of all time in relation to the amount of money it made.
Yeah.
It hasn't made the most, but in terms of the budget, it has, I think, made the most amount. Yeah. And it's, still held up as a great example of what you can do.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. But that's also like one film out of hundreds of thousands that are made every year.
Well, I think it was Neil that said to me, maybe Brad, I can't remember, it was Nice a couple of years ago, and he said the thing is, you go there, everyone's trying to show their project, but you've got to remember, Steve, there's something like 6,000 films on average here, either made or not made, that are trying to vie for your attention. Can you imagine trying to
Yeah.
picked through, and that's 1 year. You know, and I was there, when I was there, they were asking for money for projects that hadn't even been made.
Yeah.
They were saying, well, we've got this star in it, whether that was true or not, I don't know. They had all this paraphernalia, and they're asking you to invest. And it kind of struck me then that you're asking, it must be one of those industries, you're asking to invest in something that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
It's just a vision, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of a double-edged sword too, because you need to attach names to your project in order to secure
Which costs money.
which costs money, but you can't get investors until you have the names already signed to the project, because investors are not going to invest $10 million to a film that, you know, Natalie Portman, you think you have Natalie Portman, because the problem is that like Natalie Portman's reps won't even show the project to her unless you for sure have that $10 million already in the bank.
God.
So it's
That's
kind
a
of a
vicious
double-edged,
circle,
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
vicious circle where it's, you know, you could do a letter of intent for the actor. So if this person raises this amount of money, I will be in their film. But that often falls through, because if they can't get the money, then the person's schedule, they'll book something else. So it is kind of a vicious cycle where it's.
I guess the analogy I always use is the more money the film costs, the less control you're going to have.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have the money men breathing down your neck, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And even, you know, I guess even the Spielbergs, or maybe not Spielberg, I don't know, or maybe, who knows. But I wouldn't be surprised if even, well, we can talk about this. I mean, Star Wars is a great example. The guy that's just doing the Han Solo film has been fired. The one that's been taken up over by Ron Howard, which was a bit of a surprise. Episode 9, I don't know if he was fired or he decided to go, but JJ's taken over, because I guess, although they're tentpole movies, the things about Star Wars, I guess, is you already know you're going to make shed loads of money anyway.
Yeah.
I know that's a rarity, but even so, it just shows you the level of control the studios can exert.
Totally. But you still want, I'm sure, you know, that you still want it to be good, even though you're automatically going to make lots of money. You know, what's really interesting, David Lynch wrote a book called Catching the Big Fish, and he talks a lot about meditation, and he's very into meditation, but he was saying that, you know, even somebody at his level, he was saying there was a certain film that he did, I can't exactly remember which one it was, but he said that he didn't have control over the final edit, and it's shit because of that. But you're right, the
Probably
more money...
Dune.
The more
that was his, wasn't it? I bet it was Dune. Dune was his kind of look, but I can imagine him not having final control over that. I can't imagine all the others like Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive. I can't imagine he didn't have final cut over those, because they're very Lynchian films, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to look back and see what it was, but even at that level, you know, because there's so much money at $30 million plus.
It's a shed load of money.
That's a shitload of money, and if I was an investor, I would want to have some say as well, because. I mean, you can understand how they would want to have some control if they see it going very badly very quickly.
I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, it might be an urban myth, so I have to check this out, that he was approached to direct a Star Wars film.
Oh, really?
That would have been the original, I guess the original, so I don't know. But can you imagine what that would have been like? That would have been a complete head fuck, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like worms coming out of Darth Vader's ears. I don't know, who knows? I'm sure I read that. It might have been on Ain't It Cool News I read that, so it might be just an urban legend, but I kind of remember thinking, shit, can you imagine what that would have been like?
I would pay money to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it is, I know it's a really tough business, and I've always said that it's not for me. I really admire you and all the others that do it, because I know it's a real bloody hard thing to do. But I know we were talking earlier, and it's something you said that struck me as about that, you know, you're very, you know, driven, you know, we're talking about earlier, and actually, I know you are, even if we never met, I know you are, and the reason I know you are, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be in this business.
Yeah.
Frankly, would you?
Yeah.
Because you just get chewed up.
Yeah.
You know, and any number of filmmakers I talk to out there, they're same as you, they're just like go-getters, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because you're fighting fucking hard to get, I shouldn't swear, but to get your projects up and about and out and around. And that's just the way it would be, but I suppose it is. But the trouble is, you've got to temper that, the fact that you're an artist and you want to have a project made, knowing also there's a commercial aspect to it.
Yeah.
But by hell, you've got to get the project made. So you've got to spin all these plates. How do you do it?
I think you have to be a little bit ignorant too when you enter the business, because you have to be kind of blissfully unaware of how difficult it is. Because if you are fully aware, you automatically in the back of your head think that it's never going to happen, nothing. You automatically start thinking negative thoughts, which is really difficult. I mean,
and you don't want those in your head, that's the thing.
and that's, you can't have them. I mean, I booked a commercial, this is a prime example. I booked a commercial and there was 3,500 people that were submitted for my role. So that's 3,500 people that had agents that fit my type that were submitted for the role. And then they called 500 people in for the initial callback, and they had 120 people in for the callback. Or I'm sorry, they called 500 people in for the initial audition.
So already you've only got a 1 in 7 chance at the 500 from the 3,500.
Yes.
And then that gets whittled down to 120.
Yes.
So I'm just doing my math very quickly. So then it's a 1 in 5, if 1 in 4 chance from the original 500. So we've already gone through the 1 in 7, 1 in 4. Yeah, okay, and then.
Well, if you break it down to, so they cast 5 people out of 120 people. So your chances, 5 people out of 3,500 people that are submitted.
1 in 6, 12, 18, 20, about 1 in 600 off the top of my head.
Yeah,
6,
I
12,
mean, it's,
18.
you,
Yeah,
if
1
you
in
do
6,
the
700.
percentage, you have like a 0.0065% chance of booking the role. So you literally walk in every audition as an actor in LA with a 0% chance of booking that role. But if you know that and you're aware of that,
You won't
and
go
you
for
think
anything.
that when you walk in the room, you're never going to book it because you're like, I have no chance of booking this. As an actor, you know, you have to really believe in yourself and believe that you can bring something to the character that's really special and unique, and also not look at others with competition, because that can really, really kill you as an actor. You really need to look at this as a community, and you know, if you book this one, I book the next one, is kind of how you have to look at it. Or I book this one, you book the next one, and there's enough for all of us. When in actuality, there's not. You have a 0% chance of booking it, but that's the attitude that you have to have. You kind of have to have some blissful ignorance going on, otherwise you'll quit before you even start, because you have to be crazy
Yeah, you do.
to pursue something.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes me think, if I ever was in filmmaking, I wouldn't be this side of the camera, I wouldn't want to act anyway. I'd be that side, because I'd assume you've got more chance of getting more work. Maybe it doesn't work that way either.
I mean, but that's just as competitive as well. I was interning, and a lot of times what I would do to get experience on set or whatever is I would volunteer to work for free, and even then it was competitive to volunteer to work for free.
Well, no, I can believe it, because they're now saying that some intern posts are so sought after, rich parents are paying for them to get the internship.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is absolutely,
like,
it's
you're
a
now
disgrace.
paying to do the job.
It's a disgrace.
It is. But you know, that's
That's the free market for you.
That's the
That's
world we live
capitalism.
in.
All right, thanks for that, Casey. Wonderful.
Yeah,
Great to
thanks.
talk to you again.
Yeah.